Good morning, my friends. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here with the MLive Morning Weather Update. Another blast of Arctic cold on the way. Really, the Arctic front to me looks like it comes through on Friday. You might be saying, well, it's cold now. Yes, it is cold, but it's going to get colder. It looks like it's basically a Friday, Saturday, Sunday Arctic outbreak. I feel like it's very similar to the one that we've just had last week at this time, and then gradually easing up. And I'm actually going to show you some weather maps, some temperature maps, where I'm going to show you 10 days just for fun, and 3 or 4 of those days are above freezing. So it's going to take a little while. Also, I do want to warn you that I feel like February, as the flow straightens out from straight out of the north to out of the west, I feel like February is going to at some point turn quite stormy across the middle part of the country, and that could include good old lovely Michigan. All right, who do we got here? Deblock, good morning. I should wear a hat. It's cold. Good morning, Kimberly Zeismer. Go Blue SH. Good morning, Freeport. And good morning, Carter from the Clarkston area. All right, so what do we got? We still have lake effect snow today and a little bit tomorrow. Now, when the Arctic high builds in, the air can be so dry aloft that even though you'd think, wow, it's extremely cold over the lake, should be heavy lake effect snow, it doesn't always work like that. It doesn't work like that. You got to have moisture. You got to have disturbances aloft also. So it's not just as simple as it's cold over the lake, heavy lake effect snow. But today, that is the case. The winter weather advisory continues just southwest of Grand Rapids, down through the Kalamazoo area. And it's another 3 to 6 inches there. The Traverse City area, you could have a couple of inches, although you're not under a winter weather advisory. And then you see the extreme cold watch for the northeast quarter of lower Michigan. That's because of the cold air that's about ready to head our way. All right, so on the radar, you still see patches of lake effect. You still see the lake effect continuing. Grand Rapids over to the lake, down toward Kalamazoo. So that area is a mess because we have not seen anything close to freezing, obviously. Anything. Hey, good morning, Lawrence Kendersky. And in the UP as well. So radar forecast shows that through the day, we could see kind of an uptick in the lake effect snow on the west side of the state, while the east side of the state has sunshine and has, maybe an occasional flurry, you would call it. So we're into this afternoon. And again, kind of disorganized lake effect, Grand Rapids over toward Jackson, Kalamazoo, an inch or two. Then we go to the evening and the lake effect intensifying through the Traverse City area and along the shoreline and across the UP. So it continues. Now as we go into tomorrow, the winds start to turn northeasterly a little bit, but the lake effect continues. Grand Rapids westward. And we go to tomorrow night as the Arctic front blows through and the northeast wind kicks in. It shoves that off of the west coast, and we'll have to watch the northeast coast, Alpena to Oscoda to the Thumb. But again, remember, this is going to be very dry Arctic air, so it won't have a lot of snowfall capacity. Here's the snowfall today. Around the Traverse City area, I'd still call it 2 to 4 inches. Manistee, Ludington, 2 to 4 inches. Southwest corner from south side of Grand Rapids down to Kalamazoo, 2 to 4 inches. East side, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Flint, Saginaw Bay City, the Thumb, Midland, Alpena, decorative flurries, although they're not very decorative anymore. I better nix that phrase because I'm starting to get some looks from people. And of course the UP, it continues to pile up off of Lake Superior. We go through the night tonight to noon tomorrow, and you see the western third, basically US 131 westward, 3 to 6 inches of snow and up to a foot in the UP, just keeps coming. Okay, and this is by Friday morning. So the places where you're getting it, I'd call it 2 to 4 inches every 12 hours. Now, we move on. So the Arctic high builds in. What I want you to watch is, and you know, there's nothing we can do really to make a weather map simpler for you because it's a lot of squiggly lines. But what I want you to watch is this Arctic high pressure center is going to drop straight from Canada all the way south. This one is going to make it down to Texas and shove extremely cold air into the southeast, probably freezing a lot of Florida by early next week. So if you're headed that way, you better check the weather for a couple of days because you might want to take a winter hat with you and some gloves and a coat. And again, for us, as the Arctic high builds in, that's usually bone dry air. You know, that's the kind of air that you run around the house and you grab a doorknob or something and psh, you get shocked because the air is so dry. And I will say that there isn't any widespread storm system in this kind of pattern because it all travels to the south. Another big snowstorm forming on the East Coast. This one actually would be technically a nor'easter and will miss us pretty far to the south and east. So here we go. So remember, lake effect just continues today, tonight, Thursday. Watch that high pressure center. So you see that black circle up north of Minnesota? That's the high pressure center coming straight south out of the Arctic. Now we're at Friday evening, and what it is it's in Minnesota, North Dakota, northeast winds for us. Arctic air is just pouring in. And look at how as we get to Saturday, it plunges all the way to a center being in Oklahoma. The cold front barreling through Florida, Cuba, Cancun, all the way down into there. The nor'easter forming, we're bone dry on the weekend. Still ice-packed roads because nothing works at these temperatures. And then we go into next week early, you know, maybe a little Alberta Clipper and maybe another little Alberta Clipper on the 4th or the 5th. And then you see the storm track, at least for a storm or two, jump northward. That's what gets us into temperatures above freezing, kind of lets up on the Arctic air, and we'll run it out just because I want you to know the theme that as we get to the middle part of February and the Arctic air backs off, guess where the storm track lines up? It comes farther north and it comes toward Michigan. So if you're a snow lover, I think the last half of February and the first half of March could be very exciting. So this is the total snowfall off of the European model in the ensemble mode. So it just gives you a general feel of how much snow. I'm going to take it out 7 days to next Wednesday. And what you'll notice is that the east side of the state might have an inch or two in the spurts of snow showers that break off and head our way in the eastern side. And the west side, this shows 2 to 4 inches. I think that's a little light because it's an ensemble, but it gives you the idea. West side gets, moderate lake effect snow over the next couple of days. Why does everybody always try to call me when I'm on the air? Let's see. All right, so now I've been talking about a warm-up. I guess that's not rocket science because it's pretty easy to get warmer from here and from where we're going to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? But what I'm going to show you is the upper airflow. You'll see the polar vortex kind of lifting to the northeast, not going away, but lifting to the northeast. We get a little bit milder Pacific air from southwestern Canada in second half of next week. And everything shows that that polar vortex backs back down toward us. So winter is nowhere near done. Have we had our coldest air? Probably. I say probably because we can still get our coldest air in mid-February because the lakes will probably be, I don't know if they'll be near frozen, but they'll be very close and they won't really help us a whole lot. But so here we go. So this is the flow at 15,000 feet up. When you see the greens and the blues and the purples, that means it's a cold low over the top of us like we have now. When you see the orange and reds, it doesn't mean we get the shorts out and put the winter clothes away. It means that we come back to about normal probably on temperatures. By the way, normal is going to start to go up here very shortly in about a week. I'm just giving you little tastes of if time passes quickly and you're done with winter, you got a waiting game of, on the cold, you got a waiting game of a couple weeks. On the storms, who knows? It could continue well into March. So here's our Arctic front coming through on Friday, and look what happens. It forms this deep, cold storm in the southeast part of the country. That's your makings for a nor'easter and for a Florida orange grove freeze. Do they still have those in Florida? I know there was a disease that wiped out a lot of the trees. Now we're to next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Note that the lobe of the polar vortex kind of shifts off. Now we're to next Wednesday, February 4th. Note that our air is coming out of western Canada now. Not warm, but near freezing. This is Friday the 6th and the 7th, and everything that I run that has an ensemble to it, US model, the European model, other models, show that the trough stays in the East Coast, the ridge stays on the West Coast, so we stay in a northwesterly flow, which will guide cold fronts through. But look at this. This is February 12th. That would be a fairly stormy pattern because there would be storms coming in from the west, and we would be on the cold side of those storm systems. All right, hope you're seated. Here we go. Today's high is only in the teens. Tomorrow, low teens at that. Friday, we're going to be lucky to hit 10 degrees in a lot of places. 2 in Flint and 3 in Lansing. That's a high temperature, and I'm going to show you the low temperatures. Saturday, I'm not so sure about. I think this is a little bit too warm. I think Saturday will be just as cold as Friday, down in the single digits, maybe hanging near 0. Sunday is cold in the teens to near 20, but starting to modify. Monday in the teens. Tuesday near 20. Wednesday, wait a minute, are you going to wipe your eyes like I am? Yeah, 20s. Thursday, February 5th, mid-20s. We'll probably be running around in shorts then. The 6th, next Friday. And I do believe that there are 2-3 days somewhere between the 4th and the 8th, where the afternoons make it above freezing, and since it'll be a couple of days, we'll probably get a lot of the main roads with the iciness melted off. And we go out to the 9th and the 10th and the 11th, and we don't really believe those as far as exact temperatures, but we do like the idea that it fits to the upper air pattern. And I just wanted to show you the fact that there is a possibility of several days making it to 32 or 35. All right, now I hope you're really seated. So this is tomorrow morning's low temperatures. Below zero in the east, single digits in the west. Friday morning, probably 5 to 15 degrees below zero. Saturday morning, I'm not so sure why this model is keeping us a little warmer on Saturday. I think it'll be 5 to 15, maybe 20 below. Sunday, it brings it back to 5 to 15 below in the morning. There's Monday morning. Tuesday morning is cold. Wednesday morning, maybe below zero. And then by the time we get to the afternoons making it above freezing, we get to mornings that start in the low to mid 20s, and that will actually feel pretty nice. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat it. This is hardcore winter weather. In the Arctic air, we miss the heavy lake effect, or the heavy snow, and then once that cold air backs off some and we get into the 20s and 30s, we'll probably go back to a stormy pattern, and I have that pegged for second half of February, and it typically lasts for a month, and March can be quite stormy. So we've got a lot of it. We've got, do you want Arctic air, or do you want snowstorms and maybe freezing rain and all that stuff? If you don't want either of those, I suggest the vacation this year goes to the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, something like that. Because of the trough in the east, even the southeast, even Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach, Gulf Shores, even Florida, even South Florida can be kind of on the cold side in this kind of pattern for the next 2 weeks to a month. There's your MLive morning weather update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Thanks for joining me. Stay warm and watch out for those slick spots on the sidewalk every morning. Take care.